Hello, this is Alan Wheeler at the end of my workday here on Friday, January 10th. And at 2:22 today, um, I read we had the full moon, and I read elsewhere that it's called the wolf moon, and I don't know all that entails. But I would like to do a reading from my new tarot deck, the new Mythic Tarot. And I bought this for myself for Christmas, and it came in the mail recently. And I've just shuffled it up for the first time here and drawn out three cards on the topic of winter. Um, and by way of introduction to the deck, before I get into my question further, uh, I believe I'm going to connect with this deck through the goddess Hecate, who is represented on the moon card of this deck. So on my first time fanning through the deck, I noticed the triple goddess under the moon with her triple dog here. And so I pulled that card out as a way of connecting with the deck. But my question is about winter as either the season of the year, the cycle we're going through yearly here, but it could also apply to a time of life, our elder years. And of course, all kinds of things go through this kind of mythic cycle, very appropriate for this deck. And so whether it's a movement or a nation or a marriage, anything could go through this kind of cycle of the newness of spring and the vibrancy of summer and so on. Now, I'm going to read a sonnet by William Shakespeare, Sonnet 73, and I read this poem at my father's funeral. And here's a picture of him. And this was one of his favorite poems, and he would read this and get tears in his eyes. And the sonnet is also known as That Time of Year, being the first words of the poem. And I'll pause after each section and just comment on what kind of winter or season is being depicted or used as a metaphor. That time of year thou mayst in me behold, when yellow leaves, or none, or few, do hang upon these boughs, which shake against the cold, bare ruined choirs where late the sweet birds sang. So, of course, there we have the image of wintertime. In me thou seest the twilight of such day, as after sunset fadeth in the west, which by and by black night doth take away. Death's second self that seals up all in rest. And so the image there is of nighttime coming. In me thou seest the glowing of such fire, that on the ashes of his youth doth lie, as the deathbed whereon it must expire, consumed with that which it was nourished by. And so we have the image of the dying fire. This thou perceivest, which makes thy love more strong, to love that well which thou must leave ere long. And so, moving from the metaphors of winter, nighttime, the dying fire, to the speaker of the poem himself, he reflects that this temporality that soon he'll be gone, but that makes him of even greater value and even more the loved. So, a familiar sonnet from William Shakespeare. Well, reflecting on this time in a cycle of life, or the season of the year, or of a project, or that time when things become cold and barren, seemingly, the later stages of a cycle. I drew 3 tarot cards, and from the Mythic Tarot, they were the 7 of Wands, the Ace of Pentacles, and the 8 of Pentacles. So, as I just briefly sat with the cards before making this recording, I'm reminded that even at this later time of life, that we need the fire of the 7 of Wands here. And whereas sometimes these cards show someone battling from a higher position above a line of fighters with stabs. This one shows Jason fighting to maintain something he's gained. So he has gained the golden fleece in this part of the mythic tale, and now he's having to fight to keep what he has gained. And I think that's very appropriate for the later stages of something, to need to reinvigorate that battle and to protect what has been won. And even motivation itself has got to be protected. And I remember an older gentleman some years ago came up to me after a meeting, and he said, "Pray for me. I just can't seem to get motivated anymore." And I've never forgotten that, how precious that motivation is. And so the 7 of Wands may remind us to fan into flame, whether it's a spiritual gift or some skill or talent or interest that needs to be reinvigorated, even in the cold months or the later stages of a cycle. And in a similar vein, the Ace of Pentacles shows a kind of a new beginning of, again, it could be a project, a skill, an interest. And the 8 of Pentacles is very similar, as this character is, even at a later stage, can still be learning, still be taking the role of an apprentice and learning new skills. This is the god Poseidon, pictured in this card, coming up out of the waters. And this is, I believe his name is pronounced Daedalus, who is a master craftsman and designed the labyrinth that held the Minotaur. But even just taking the standard meanings of these cards, even in the last stages of a cycle when the fire seems to be dimming and the branches of the tree seem to be barren, this is still a good time. Maybe the midlife crisis or the reinvigoration, the getting that motivation back in that time of year. So that's just a quick reading for wintertime of whatever kind. Thank you for watching, and as always, I hope you will feel connection with people in your life, with online community perhaps, and on your spiritual path, whatever that might be. Take care.